Hey y'all, we're digging back into that account that we read from 2 Kings 4 yesterday, where the widow has got to do something. She's in a very difficult situation and she doesn't know what to do. But she did know what to do. And what was that? She went to the prophet. Now remember, in the Old Testament, the prophet was the one who heard from God and spoke to the people. It's kind of a go-between. They had the prophets, they had the priests who would make intercession or the sacrifices for the people, but the prophet is the one who heard the voice of God. So this woman went to Elisha, and what? She went for an answer. What do I need to do? What do I do? This is my problem. What do I do? And this is not, it was not a lofty or spiritual thing, right? She did not go with a spiritual problem. I mean, that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at reality. Hey, this is the situation I'm in. I got to know what to do right now. And the prophet told her. And so I think a lot of times we find ourselves in these impossible situations. Like, I literally have nothing that can fix this problem. But we think that going to the Father, that we're going to have to wait. He's not going to give us what we need, or we're, that's a spiritual thing. I don't need a spiritual fix. I need a reality fix right now. Like, I physically, tangibly have to do something in this situation. And it is a lie of the enemy that God cannot or will not give us solutions for the world in which we live. Right? We think that this is not a God problem. This is a I've got to have something right now problem. And so we make decisions outside of the wisdom of God. Most of the time because we just didn't ask. And just for the record, I'm looking at myself as I'm talking about all of this. These are things that I must remind myself and I must deal with just like anybody else. So when I come up on a hard place, I've got to know, God, what are we doing? I'm your daughter, just like I would go to my dad. Dad, this is my problem. I need help. We got to fix this. And he would help every single time. Well, if my earthly father, being evil, right, as Jesus talks about, I believe it's in Luke, how much more does your earthly father, does your heavenly father know how to give good gifts, right? And so, maybe it's in Mark. Anyway, I don't want to waste time looking at that, but you know the account, you know the story, and he says God is a good God who knows how to give good gifts. Oh, there it is. It's in Matthew 7. I think it's in Luke as well, but he says this is Matthew 7 9. Or what man is there of you if his son asks him for a loaf? Asks him for a loaf of bread, will you hand him a stone? Or if he asks you for a fish, will you hand him a serpent? If then, evil as you are, know how to give good and advantageous gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven, perfect as he is, give good and advantageous things to those who keep on asking? So Jesus talks about God the Father here being a good God. And that if you ask your Father for a loaf of bread, he certainly wouldn't give you a stone. Or if he asks you for fish, he wouldn't give you a serpent. Those are actual requests, food, needs, requirements for life. And so God is the same way. Satan has so deceived us that we can't approach God about that, or we can't ask God about that, or God isn't concerned with that, that we have taken stones and serpents instead of the bread and the fish. And it will take a transformation of our thinking, being renewed in our mind, from like Romans 12:1 says, to change our thought patterns, that we have access to the wisdom of God. And the wisdom of God covers all things. All things. We cannot separate the spiritual from this life, from living in this physical world. They must work together. We must bring the spiritual. Our relationship with God the Father has to be intertwined into every aspect of our lives. We'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.